Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Śrī Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namahum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat krupatamaham vande Shri Guru Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with his devotees, he has travelled to Vrindavan. We are in chapter 18, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to Vrindavan. We were discussing in our last session as how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was spending his time in Vrindavan. So he was desirous of reaching to Vrindavan right from the time he took sannyas. And then eventually, after many years, and after his South India Yatra, and after his one unsuccessful attempt to go to Vrindavan, where he goes till Bengal and then he returns back, this time finally we saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually in Vrindavan. So in this chapter, we have already completed till verse number 134. Today we would be discussing 135 to 174, where we would talk about departing from Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu is going back from Vrindavan now. The second section, the transformation of Pathan soldiers. So Krishna willing, we would try to complete these two sections today. So let's enter into Vrindavan and see what makes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leave Vrindavan. Ek din se okrura ghatira upare Vasi Mahaprabhu kichu kore na vichare. One day, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu sat at the bathing ghat of Akrura Tirtha and thought the following thoughts. So this Akrura Tirtha comes between Vrindavan and Mathura. And Akrura was a person who was sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna Balaram to Mathura from Vrindavan. So when he was taking them and when he was traveling from Vrindavan to Mathura, there was this place where Akrura stops there. It's a ghat in Yamuna. He stops there and he takes bath, and when he dips inside, and inside he sees the entire spiritual creation actually. And he sees Krishna Balaram and he was very startled, and he comes out and then there he sees Krishna Balaram were sitting on the chariot and laughing and talking to each other. So that particular place is known as Akrura Tirth, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting there at that bathing ghat. E ghate akrura vaikuntha dekhila, vrajavasi loka golok darshan koila. At this bathing place, Akrura saw Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, and all the inhabitants of Vraja saw Golok Vrindavan. So this is the place where Akrura had the darshan of Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world. Eta bali jhapa dila jalera upare, Dubiya rahila Prabhu jalera bhitare. Mahaprabhu, he was so captivated in his ecstatic love when he thought about this place. Then what he did is, while considering how Akrura remained within the water, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu immediately jumped in water and stayed underwater for some time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just meditating in that pastime, and he also wanted to experience that pastime, so he jumped into the water. Dekhi Krishna Das Khandi Phukar Korila, Bhattacharya Shigra Asi Prabhu Re Uthaila. When Krishna Das saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drowning, he cried and shouted very loudly. Balbhadra Bhattacharya immediately came and pulled the Lord out. So Krishna Das could see, and then he started shouting because Mahaprabhu was inside the water. It was not that he went inside and he came out instantly. So he stayed inside the water. Tobe Bhattacharya se brahmane lana yukti korila kichu nibrite vasiya. After this, Balbhadra Bhattacharya took the Sanodiya Brahmana to a secluded place and consulted with him. So we would remember that there are 4 people who are now with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One was Balbhadra Bhattacharya and one was the assistant of Balbhadra Bhattacharya. So these 2 are the Bengali travelers which have accompanied Mahaprabhu right from Jagannath Puri. And then he has met the Sanodiya Brahmana who has started traveling with Mahaprabhu. And then this Rajput Krishna Das, who was also very attracted to Mahaprabhu, and he has also joined Mahaprabhu. So these 4 devotees are actually with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this time. So now we see that Balbhadra and Sanodiya Brahman, they were having some discussion. Aji ami achilana uthilum prabhu re, Vrindavane duben yadi ke uthabe tan re. Balbhadra Bhattacharya was very concerned actually, and he is discussing, since I was present today, it was possible for me to pull the Lord up. But if he starts to drown at Vrindavan, who will help him? So if he repeats, Lord is here in so much of ecstasy, uncontrollable ecstasy. So today I could see that Mahaprabhu has taken not a dip, he has gone inside the water, and I realized, and I have pulled him out. But what if the same thing happens and I'm not there around? Lokera sanghat ar nimantranir jala, nirantar avesh prabhur na dekhiya bhala. Now there is a crowd of people here, and these invitations are causing much disturbance. In addition, the Lord is always ecstatic and emotional. I do not find the situation here very good. So he is thinking that he is accompanying Lord. Why? Because he is expected to take care of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what is happening is, as we heard in the last session, that there were so many countless invitations. Every devotee of Vrindavan wanted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to visit his house for lunch prasadam. So he is telling Nimantranera janjal. So it is like a janjal. It is such a disturbance. Jaise ji ka janjal ho gaya. So like that he is telling that so much of disturbance is there. So I am occupied with sorting out that. Plus Lord is also so much in ecstasy. Here and there he goes around, and then he becomes very transcendental emotions he is exhibiting. So this situation is not very conducive for me to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu properly. Vrindavan haite yadi Prabhu re kadiya, tabe mangal haye ei bhala yukti haye. It would be good if we could get Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu out of Vrindavan. That is my final conclusion. Now, years of desire, and Mahaprabhu is there in Vrindavan, and after reaching Vrindavan also there are devotees who want Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get out of Vrindavan, so that it becomes a little more easier for them to handle. Vipra kahe prayage Prabhu lana yai, Ganga tira pothe yai, tabe sukha pai. The Sanodia Brahmana said, let us take him to Prayag and go along the banks of the Ganges. It will be very pleasurable to go that way. So both of them, they are discussing this. Sorokshetra aage yana kori Ganga snan, sei pothe Prabhu lana kariye payan. After going to the holy place named Sorokshetra and bathing in the Ganges, let us take Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu that way and go. Magh mas lagila ebe yodiyaiye, makare prayag snan kata din paye. It is now the beginning of the month of Magh. If we go to Prayag at this time, we shall have an opportunity to bathe for a few days during Makara Sankranti. So this month of Magh, this is a very, very auspicious month, and this month has started. So this month generally, if we try to equate with the English calendar, so it is December to January. So that month is known as like mid-December to mid-January. That is Magh month. So he's telling that that month is going on. And if we start traveling towards Prayag now, so from Mathura to Prayag, if we travel that distance now, then we would reach at that Makar Sankranti. So Makar Sankranti is very well celebrated in Prayag, and I'm sure all of us would be aware of. So this is a time when in 12 years there is this Mahakumbh, this Kumbh Mela is organized there. So that is the place and that is the day. So they are thinking that if we travel that way, then Makar Sankranti we would be in Prayag and we can take bath there in the holy water. Apnar dukha kichu kori nivedana, Makara panchasi prayage kariha suchana. The Sanodia Brahman continued, kindly submit to Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu the unhappiness you are feeling within yourself. Then propose that we all go to Prayag on the full moon day of the month of Magh. Ganga tira pothe sukha janai hatan re, Bhattacharya asi tabe kahila Prabhu re. Tell the Lord of the happiness you will feel in traveling via the bank of Ganges. Balbhadra Bhattacharya therefore submitted this prayer to Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. So Balbhadra Bhattacharya was aware that Chaitanya Mahāprabhu may not like it, but then that is why he discusses with Sanodia Brahmana to come up with a proper plan which may be a little attractive to Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. So he approaches Mahaprabhu and he submits his plea. Sahite na pari ami lokera gadpadi, nimantrana lagi loka kare huda hudi. Balbhadra Bhattacharya told the Lord, I can no longer tolerate the disturbance of the crowd. People are coming one after another to offer invitations. Prata kale aise loka tomare na paya, tomare na pana loka mora matha khaya. Early in the morning, people come here and not seeing you present, they simply, what they do, mora matha khaya. They tax my brain. So you are not there, and then they start like debating and arguing and requesting and pleading and scolding and everything to do with me, that somehow or the other bring Chaitanya Mahāprabhu to my house and I want to invite. No, my invitation is the first. So like that, there is, like earlier he uses the word janjal and here he is saying mora matha khaya. Tabe sukha haya yobe ganga pathe yaye, ebe yadi yai makare ganga snan paye. I'll be very happy if we all leave and take the path by the bank of Ganges. Then we can have the opportunity of bathing in the Ganges at Prayag during Makar Sankranti. So this is Balbhadra's proposal to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Udvigna hoila prana sohite na pari, Prabhur ye agya hoya sei shire dhari. My mind has become very much agitated and I cannot bear this anxiety. Now everything rests on the permission of your lordships. I will accept whatever you want to do. So, Prabhura ye agya hai sei shire dhari. Shire dhari means that I would keep it on my forehead. So that is worshipable basically. So he is telling that this is my concern. This is my problem. This is what is causing me so much of anxiety. But my dear Lord, ultimately, whatever you decide, I would accept it. Yadyapi Vrindavan tyage nahi prabhur mana, bhakta ichha puri te kahe madhur vachana. Although Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu had no desire to leave Vrindavan, he began to speak sweet words just to fulfill the desire of his devotee. So as we have seen, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there as Krishna, for Supreme Lord Krishna also there were various instances where we could see that how the desire of the devotee was more important than his own desires. Promise of his devotee was more important than his own promise. And here we are saying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, though he has reached Vrindavan after many years, and yet because his devotee is not satisfied there, he changes his plan. Tumi amayani dekha Lila-18 Irina ami nari bakarite shodhana. You have brought me here to show me Vrindavan. I am very much indebted to you and I shall not be able to repay this debt. So he is extremely grateful, and the whole grateful, that attitude, that gratitude is because you have brought me to Vrindavan. Now the same person is asking, let's go back from Vrindavan. Ye tomara ichha ami seita koriba, yaha lana yaha tumi tahani aiba. Whatever you desire, I must do. Wherever you take me, I shall go. So this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotee, surrenders to the Lord and the Lord surrenders to the devotee. The devotee is controlled by the Lord and the Lord is controlled by the devotee. So entering into the next section, when they start traveling back, we will see that how they meet Pathan soldiers and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu influences them. Pratha kale Mahaprabhu pratha snana koila, Vrindavan chari bajani prema vesha hoila. The next day morning, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu got up early. After taking his bath, he became ecstatic with love, knowing that he now had to leave Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu was willing to leave Vrindavan now because the devotee has so requested. Bahya vikar nahi prema vishta mona, Bhattacharya kahe chala yai mahavana. Although the Lord did not exhibit any external symptoms, his mind was filled with ecstatic love. At that time, Balbhadra Bhattacharya said, let us go to Mahavan or Gokul. Eta boli Mahaprabhu re naukaya vasana, Parakori Bhattacharya Chalila-18. Saying this, Balbhadra Bhattacharya made Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu sit aboard a boat. After they crossed the river, he took the Lord with him. Premi Krishna Dasa Ara Seita Brahmana, Ganga Tira Pathe Yai Barviju Dujana. Both Rajput Krishnadas and Sanodia Brahman knew the path along the Ganges bank very well. So they all are heading towards Gokul and then to Prayag. And these two devotees, they knew the path very well. Yaite ek vriksha tole Prabhu sabalana, Vasila sabar patha shanti dekhiya. While walking, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, understanding that the others were fatigued, took them all beneath a tree and sat down. So they all were resting under a tree now. Se vikshani karte chare bahu gabhi gana, Taha dekhi Mahaprabhu ullasita mana. So what did Mahaprabhu says which brings so much of ullas to his heart? There were many cows grazing near that tree, and the Lord was very pleased to see them. Suddenly, a cowherd boy blew on his flute, and immediately the Lord was struck with ecstatic love. So Mahaprabhu was examining, he was seeing this beautiful sight where there were various cows, they were grazing, there was a forest close by. So Mahaprabhu was absorbed that in Vrindavan thought, and then somebody, a cowherd boy, actually started playing the flute. So of course that transmitted him to Golok Vrindavan from this Vrindavan, and Mahaprabhu was completely in ecstasy. अचेतन हना प्रभु भूमिते पडिला मुखे फेन पडे नासाय श्वासरूढ हैला. Filled with ecstatic love, the Lord fell to the ground unconscious. He foamed about the mouth and his breathing stopped. So though it appears externally like it's a symptom of epilepsy, a person who's epileptic, something similar happens to that person. But we understand that it is not epilepsy in Lord's case. In his case, he is experiencing spiritual emotions, the top level ecstasy. He nakale taha asho yar darsh aila mlecha pathan ghoda haite utarila. While the Lord was unconscious, 10 cavalry soldiers belonging to the Muslim Pathan military order rode up and dismounted. So 10 Pathan soldiers basically reached there. Prabhu re dekhi amlich kara ye vichara e yati pasha chila suvarna apara. Seeing the Lord unconscious, the soldiers thought, this sannyasi must have possessed a large quantity of gold. So they start thinking that this person had large gold, and let's see what else. E chari bato yara dhutara khayayana mari dari yache yatir sabadhan lana. These 4 rogues here must have taken away that sannyasi's riches after killing him by making him take the poison dhatura. So dhatura is actually a plant derivative which causes lot of intoxication, and overdosing it becomes actually poisonous. So here the Pathan soldiers, they are concluding that this sannyasi, he would have lot of riches with him, and these 4 rogues, so who are these 4? These 4 are actually Balbhadra, his assistant Rajput Krishnadas, and Sanudiya Brahmana. So these 4 people would have fed him dhatura and somehow taken all his money. That was their conclusion when they arrived at this scene. तबे से पठान चारी जाने र बांधिला काटिते चाहे गौड़िया सब कांपीते लागिला. Thinking this, the Pathan soldiers arrested the 4% and decided to kill them. Because of this, the 2 Bengalis began to tremble. They were very simple, humble Bengali devotees. So they were trembling because they thought that they would be killed any time. They were experiencing this first time and they were very, very scared. कृष्णदास राजपूत निर्भय से बड़ा से विप्र निर्भय से मुखे बड़ दाड़ा. The devotee Krishnadas, who belonged to the Rajput race, was very fearless. So he's a Kshatriya and he was fearless. The Sanodiya Brahman was also fearless and he spoke very bravely. So before these Pathan soldiers could kill them, these 2 devotees, they challenged them. विप्र कहे पठान तो मार पाचार दोहाई चल तुमी आमी सिक दार पाशयाई. The Brahman said, you Pathan soldiers, are you all under the protection of your king? Let's go to your commander and get his decision. So what you are doing is not okay, and let's go to your king for the final decision. Iyati amar guru ami mathura brahmana Patsara age ache murashat jana. This sannyasi is my spiritual master and I am from Mathura. I am a Brahmana and I know many people who are in the service of the Muslim king. So he's telling that don't think that I don't have contacts. I know people I know the king also, not directly, but through my references. So if you have any problem, we can go to the king and discuss. And he's introducing also that this person is actually my spiritual master. Why would I kill him? यति व्याधि ते को भू है ना मूर्छिता अब नहीं चेतन पाइबे है व संविता. This sannyasi sometimes fall unconscious due to the influence of a disease. Please sit down here and you will see that he will very soon regain consciousness and his normal condition. So there is nothing to worry about. You just wait and watch. क्षणिक इहा वैसा बांधे राखल सबारे इहा के पूछिया तोबे मारी हा सबारे. Sit down here for a while and keep us all under arrest. When the sannyasi regains his senses, you can question him. Then if you like, you can kill us all. So this is how very bravely he was abhay. He had no fear and he's challenging the Pathans that you wait and watch. Let the sannyasi come back to his senses, ask him, and if he says, then you can kill us all. Pathan kahe tumi paschima mathura dui jana gaudiya thaka ei kape dui jana. You are all rogues. One of you belong to the western land, one to the district of Mathura, and the others two who are trembling belong to Bengal. So just by observing them, whatever way they are dressed up and all, seeing their reactions, Pathan was concluding. And he is actually very accurate. Krishna das kohe amar ghare grame dui shart turki ache shate ka kamane. Rajput Krishnadas said, I have my home here and I also have about 200 Turkish soldiers and about 100 cannons. So Rajput said that don't underestimate me. I am quite powerful and I have so many soldiers under me. Ekhani asibe soba ami adi fukari ghoda pida luti lobe toma soba mari. If I call loudly, they will all come immediately to kill you and plunder your horses and saddles. So you are thinking that you are very powerful. I don't have to do much. I'll just call them. And immediately you all would be gone and your horses and saddles and everything. Sabko loot lenge, ghoda pida luti labe toma saba mari. They will snatch away everything and they'll kill you. Gaudiya bata padna hai tumi bata pada tirthvasi lutha ara chaha mari bara. The Bengali pilgrims are not rogues. You are rogues, for you want to kill the pilgrims and plunder them. So Bengali pilgrims have no issues here. Shuniya Pathan mone sankoch hoila hena kale Mahaprabhu Chaitanya paila. Upon hearing this challenge, the Pathan soldiers became hesitant. Then suddenly Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu regained consciousness. Hari Hari. Hunkar koriya uthe bale Hari Hari. Prema veshe nritya kare urdhva bahu kori. Coming to his senses, the Lord very loudly began chanting the holy name, Hari Hari. The Lord raised his arms upwards and began to dance in ecstatic love. So Lord was in complete ecstasy. He was not aware what is happening in this material world. Why? Because he was in spiritual world. How? Because he belongs there. He is the master of the spiritual world. So he was there still. So though he regained his consciousness, though he opened his eyes, yet he was completely absorbed in that ecstasy. And that's how he got up singing and dancing. Prema veshe prabhu yabe kore na chitkara mlachera hridaya yena lage sheladhara. When the Lord shouted very loudly in ecstatic love, it appeared to the Muslim soldiers that their hearts were struck by thunderbolt. So they are the offenders, and that is why they are feeling like that. So they were very disturbed. They did not know how to react when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually started singing and dancing. Bhaya pana blecha chhadi dila chari jana Prabhu na dekhila nija ganera bandhana. Seized by fear, all the Pathan soldiers immediately released the 4 persons. Thus, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu did not see his personal associates arrested. So Mahaprabhu did not realize also that what has happened behind him, because when they saw this mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they instantly released these 4 people. Bhattacharya asi prabhu re dhari vasaila, mlecha gana dekhi Mahaprabhur bahya hoila. At that time, Balbhadra Bhattacharya went to Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and made him sit down. Seeing the Muslim soldiers, the Lord regained his normal senses. So the Lord became very grave and composed when he realized that it was not only him and his devotees, or it was not that he was alone in some Jharikhanda forest, but here there were Muslim soldiers. So he regained his gravity and he just sat down there. Mlichgana asi prabhur vandila charana, Prabhu aage kahe ei thakchari jana. All the Muslim soldiers then came before the Lord, worshipped his lotus feet and said, here are 4 rogues. So they were so, Mahaprabhu was so charismatic that just by seeing him, they were so enamored. These Muslim soldiers, they gave up whatever and they just surrendered to Mahaprabhu. Just by hearing Hari Hari from Mahaprabhu's lotus mouth, and they were so captivated by that beauty and the transcendental emotions that they came and they worshipped his lotus feet. Yet their opinion about these 4 devotees have not changed. Ei chari mili tomae dhotu rakhayo na, tomar dhana laila tomae pagal koriya. These rogues have made you take dhatura. Having made you mad, they have taken all your possessions. So they are telling Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are informing about them. Prabhu kahin thak nahe mora sangi jana, bhikshuk sannyasi mora nahi kichu dhana. I am a bhikshuk, I am a beggar, I am a sannyasi, mora nahi kichu dhana. I do not have any possession. How will I have a possession? I am a sannyasi. And Prabhu kahe thak nahi. They are not rogues, they are not cheaters. Mora sangi jana, they are my associates. So Mahaprabhu's stating that these are my people and I anyway don't have any money. What they will steal from me? I am myself a sannyasi, a beggar. Mrigi vyadhite ami kabhu hai achetana, ei chari daya kori korena palana. Due to epilepsy, I sometimes fall unconscious. Out of their mercy, these 4 men maintain me. So I am nobody, I am insignificant, and I get these epilepsy. I have this disease of epilepsy, and these 4 devotees are so wonderful that they are taking care of me. So wherever I go, they come along with me and they take care of me. So they are not rogues, they are my associates. Se mlich madhye ek param gambhira, kala vastra pare sei loke kohe pira. Among the Muslims was a grave person who was wearing a black dress. People called him a saintly person. So if we see the word mentioned, there is Peer. So Peer, Fakir, so these are the saintly people. Peer is a word for the saintly or title for the saintly person in the Muslims, among the Muslims. So there was one Peer or one saintly person present there. Chitta ardra hoila tanra prabhu re dekhiya, nirvishesha brahma sthape swashastra uthana. The heart of that saintly person softened upon seeing Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. He wanted to talk to him and establish impersonal Brahma on the basis of his own scripture, the Quran. So he wanted to have some philosophical discussion with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he could understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also a saintly person. He is a sannyasi. So, and his heart had softened and he wanted some discussion regarding that. Advaita Brahmavada Seikarila Sthapana, Tara Shastra Yuktye Tare Prabhu Kaila Khandana. When that person tried to establish the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth on the basis of the Quran, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu refuted his argument. So we have discussed Many a times during our Chaitanya Charitamrta sessions, right from the beginning, especially I think the initial 6-7 chapters of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have discussed about Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagwan, that how these are the three ways of realizing the absolute truth, and how out of Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagwan, Brahma is the most inferior. And for devotees, we do not want to attain that Brahma realization. It is considered as a spiritual suicide. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when this peer, he was trying to present the same, Mahaprabhu refuted his argument. Ye kohila Prabhu sakali khandila, uttar na aise mukhe mahastobdha hoila. Whatever arguments he put forward, the Lord refuted them all. Finally, the person became stunned and could not speak. So Mahaprabhu, I mean, you remember the early days, the young boy, Nimai Pandit, how he was popular in defeating everyone in arguments. People would come and Nimai Pandit would debate. And Nimai Pandit would establish one principle, and then when the other person would agree, and then Nimai Pandit would establish the other way also. So he was such an expert. So when he started talking, when this peer, when the saint started talking, Muslim saint started talking, and Mahaprabhu defeated him so well that he actually became stunned and he could not speak. He did not have anything to say. Prabhu kohe tomar shastra sthape nirvishesha, taha khandi savishesha sthapiyache shesha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Quran certainly establishes impersonalism, but at the end it refutes that impersonalism and establishes the personal God. So I'm sure we know that personal and impersonal, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the philosophy of Achintya Bhed Abhed Tattva, which is simultaneously same and different. So simultaneously God is person and he has an impersonal aspect also. So the Quran or the other religion, or even the Hindus who believe only in impersonal, so they actually negate the personal aspect of the Lord, that Lord is not a person. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established that how not only Hindu scriptures but Quran also, though throughout the Quran it is talking about impersonalism, but at the end it establishes the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. Tomar Shastra kohe sheshe eka Ishvara, Sarvaishvara Purna tenho Shyama kolevara. The Quran accepts the fact that ultimately there is only one God. He is full of opulence and his bodily complexion is blackish. Satchidananda Deha Purna Brahma Swarupa, Sarvatma Sarvagya Nitya Sarvadi Swarupa. According to the Quran, the Lord has a supreme, blissful, transcendental body. Ananda Deha, Satchidananda Deha. Sach is eternal, Chit is blissful, full of knowledge, and Anand is blissful. So the body of the Lord is Satchidananda, Purna Brahma Swarup. He is the Purna Roop, he is the absolute truth. And he is Sarvatma and Sarvagya. He is all pervading, omniscient, and he is eternal. Nitya Sarvadi Swarup. He is the origin of everything. Srishti Sthiti Pralay Taha Haite Haya, Sthula Sukshma Jaga Tera Teho Samsashraya. Creation, maintenance, and dissolution come from him. He is the original shelter of all gross and subtle cosmic manifestation. Sarva Shreshta Sarvaradhya Karanera Karana, Tanra Bhakti Hoya Jive Samsara Tarana. The Lord is the supreme truth, worshipable by everyone. He is the cause of all causes. By engaging in his devotional service, the living entity is relieved from material existence. So, Ishvara, Parma, Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Who is he? He is the supreme absolute truth, whom we know as Bhagavan, a person. So, personalistic form. Tanra seva vina jive nayaya samsara, tahara charina priti purushartha sara. No conditioned soul can get out of material bondage without serving the personality of Godhead. Love at his lotus feet is the ultimate goal of life. So love at his lotus feet. Now if Lord is impersonal, so impersonal feature will not have feet. So loving devotional service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually talking to Pathan and talking to all of us also through the mercy of Krishnadas Kaviraj and Srila Prabhupada. Mokshadi Anand Yar Nahe Ek Kana Purnanand Prapti Tanra Charana Sevana. The happiness of liberation, whereby one merges into the Lord's existence, cannot even be compared to a fragment of the transcendental bliss obtained by service unto Lord's lotus feet. So yes, there is some anand, there is some happiness when a person attains liberation. Why is that happiness there? Because when a person attains liberation, then there is no Adi Bhautik, no Adhyatmik and no Adi Daivik. There are no miseries. There is no birth, disease, old age and death. So there are no miseries. So that way there is some happiness. But that happiness cannot even be compared to a fragment like 0.001%. That also it does not compare on what a devotee obtains when he serves the Supreme Lord. So that is why service is the topmost. Karma Jnana Yoga Age Koriya Sthapana Sab Khandi Sthape Ishwar Tahara Sevana. In the Quran, there are descriptions of fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and union with the Supreme. But ultimately, all this is refuted and the Lord's personal feature is established along with his devotional service. So now what Mahaprabhu is talking is not on the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is so interesting that this is not Bhagavatam, not Bhagavad Gita, this is Quran what Mahaprabhu is quoting. Then he is telling that there are description of karma, there is description of jnana, there is description of yoga. But then at the end it culminates that how the personal feature is the topmost and tahara sevana, performing devotional service, is the most important. Tomar pandit sabara nahi shastra jnana purva para vidhi madhye para balavana. The scholars of the Quran are not very advanced in knowledge. Although there are many methods prescribed, they do not know that the ultimate conclusion should be considered the most powerful. Nij shastra dekhi tumi vichar koriya ki likhiya che shesha kaha nirnay koriya. Seeing your own Quran and deliberating over what is written there, what is your conclusion? Mahaprabhu is asking, what is your conclusion? Vich kahe ye kaha se satya haya shastre likhiya che keha lai te na paraya. And what is that Peer or the saint is replying? All that you have said is true. This has certainly been written in the Quran, but our scholars can neither understand nor accept it. So he is completely 100% agreeing with what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. Nirvishesha Gosai Lona Kore na Vyakhyana Sakara Gosai Sevya Karo nahi Jnana. Usually they describe the Lord's impersonal aspect, but they hardly know that the Lord's personal feature is worshipable. They are undoubtedly lacking this knowledge. So he is accepting on behalf of the followers of Quran that they are lacking this knowledge of personal feature. Sita Gosai tumi sakshat Ishvara more kripa kara muni ayogya pamara. Since you are that very same Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, please be merciful upon me. I am fallen and unfit. So now Mahaprabhu did not talk about how he is the Supreme Lord. Neither any of the followers mentioned, but just that is the prabhav, that is the impact of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord is personally present and if we are sincere, then it gets revealed. The Divya Gyan is transferred, the transcendental knowledge is transferred, and these devotees are telling, this person is telling that please be merciful on me because you are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. अनेका देखिनु मुनि म्लेच्छ शास्त्र होइते साध्य sadhana vastu nari nirdharite. I have studied the Muslim scripture very extensively, but from it I cannot conclusively decide what the ultimate goal of life is or how can I approach it. So he's saying, though I have read, I don't know. Toma dekhi jihva mora bole Krishna naam Ami boda gyani ei gela abhiman. Now that I have seen you, my tongue is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The false prestige I felt from being a learned scholar is now gone. Kripa kori bala more sadhya sadhana eta boli pode Mahaprabhur charana. Saying this, the saintly Muslim fell at the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and requested him to speak of life's ultimate goal and the process by which it could be obtained. So Mahaprabhu was so merciful. We saw that various animals and people, and now we are seeing that these Pathan soldiers, these Muslim Pathan soldiers, they are also completely transformed and they are surrendering to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asking him to explain what is the ultimate goal of life. Prabhu kahe utha Krishna namo tumi laila koti janmer paap gela pavitra hoila. Please get up. You have chanted the holy name of Krishna. Therefore, the sinful reactions you have accrued for many millions of lives are gone now. You are now pavitra, pure. You have become pavitra. Why? Just by chanting Krishna's name once. That is the potency that you become purified. Krishna kaha koila updesha sabe Krishna kahe sabar hoila prema vesha. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu then told all the Muslim soldiers there, chant the holy name of Krishna. Chant the holy name of Krishna. As they all began to chant, they were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is how powerful chanting the holy names are. So we are seeing that these people, they are killing the cows also. So can we imagine what type of offense they are committing? And to them also, just by chanting Krishna's name, they are purified completely of all the sins which they have committed in millions of lifetimes. So that is the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advented basically to give us Krishna Naam, to give us the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we all must understand and chant every day. Ramadas boli Prabhu tanra koila naam, ara ek pathan tanra naam Vijuli Khan. In this way, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu directly initiated the saintly Muslim by advising him to chant the holy name of Krishna. The Muslim's name was changed to Ramdas. Another Pathan Muslim present there was named Vijuli Khan. So now at the time of initiation, a spiritual name is given. So the spiritual master gives a spiritual name. He gives the mantra and he gives the name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the spot, one he gave the Krishna mantra, he said chant Krishna's name, and then he renamed him and he gave him this name Ramdas. Alpavayas Tanra Raja Rakumara Ramadas Adi Pathan Chakar Tahara. So this Vijuli Khan, he was very young boy and he was the son of the king. So he was a son of Muslim king. All other Muslims or Pathans headed by Ramdas were his servants. So basically Vijuli Khan was the prince, and he was traveling with all these servants. Krishna boli pade se Mahaprabhur paya Prabhu Shri Charana Dila Tahara Mathaya. Vijuli Khan also fell down at the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and the Lord placed his foot on his head. So can we imagine if the son of the king, if the prince is becoming a devotee, how everyone, all the followers would have automatically become a devotee. That is what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also. Yad yad acharati shreshthas. Whatever a great person does, common man follows. So by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, he transformed so many Muslims at one time. Tan sabar krupa kori prabhu to cholila Seita Pathan Saba Vairagi Hoila. After bestowing his mercy upon them in this way, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu left. All those Pathan Muslims then became mendicants. Pathana Vaishnava Boli Hoila Tan Rakhyati Sarvatra Gahiya Bole Mahaprabhu Kirti. Later, these very Pathans became celebrated as the Pathan Vaishnavas. They toured all over the country and chanted the glorious activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. So they became famous as Pathan Vaishnav, and they made this life mission to make Chaitanya Mahāprabhu famous. So they were traveling all over the country. They chanted the glorious activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Se Vijuli Khana Hoila Mahabhagavata Sarva Tirthe Hoila Tanra Parama Mahatva. Vijuli Khan became a greatly advanced devotee, and his importance was celebrated at every holy place of pilgrimage. Aiche Lila Kore Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Paschime Asiye Koila Yavanadi Dhanya. So this is the Leela of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. In this way, Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu performed his pastimes coming to the western part of India. He bestowed good fortune upon the Yavanas and the Milichas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let us all meditate, surrender and pray to Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu that just like he could change the heart of these Muslim soldiers who completely surrendered and became top class Mahabhagavat Vaishnav, let him be merciful on us and let us also get some taste for chanting the holy names so that we can chant with love and devotion which pleases the Supreme Lord Krishna. So thank you all very much. Looking forward to see you next week, and please do share your comments. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Amen.